to implement.
Yeah. It's hard to say no to stuff.
Yeah. Because otherwise, if I don't try to implement something like that, then I just never have a day where I can fully concentrate on stuff. But you wish you can do some of this stuff. Sometimes you can't. All right, folks, we're just about ready to go. I've got all the streams up and running. Except I got to hit record on that. It would suck to do the show and then not have a recording of it.
Yeah, that's true.
There we go. The Flying the New Media Show logo, and we're good. Hey everyone, welcome to the New Media Show. My name is Todd Cochran. Of course, I'm joined by my co-host, Mr. Rob Greenlee. Rob, how you doing?
I'm doing good, Todd. We're back to fighting the battles that we've been fighting for years. It's like a whack-a-mole situation that we got going on today.
I wouldn't call it fighting. It's just sometimes it's exhausting.
Yeah, it's interesting how we both get pulled into stuff sometimes at the same time, right? And these things are reoccurring. And I know we're being a little cryptic here, but
right. But we'll be the full disclosure. Just look at our Twitter feeds, and
right.
if you want to go look, I'm at Geek News, and Rob's at Rob Greenlee, and you just kind of look at the commentary. But so in the last show, we discussed this brand new revolutionary automated ad injection system that would take every post-read ad and, so we had a conversation about it. It was from a company called Red Circle.
Yeah.
And the Red Circle CEO, I think his CEO, listened to the show and made a couple of comments on Twitter. And, hey, you're free to come on the show. We'd love to have you on the show. If you want to come on, just let us know. We're happy to have you on here. We have a conversation. We're fair with everyone. You can ask everyone from Pandora and everyone else that we've had conversations about. We're not saying we're perfect and know everything.
Yeah.
But
there's always the but.
Yes. And I'm not going to contest what he's doing with this platform. That's, what he's doing with this. It's his business, and, more power to you, and I hope you do well. But when it comes to metrics,
it's a well beaten path.
So Rob,
right?
Libsyn, when you guys got ready to do IAB certification, did you take a haircut?
Yeah. Sure.
So Rob, ask me the same question.
Todd, did you take a haircut when you did IAB certification?
Yes, we did take a haircut when we did IAB certification. Not a big one, but a little one.
I think just about everybody has.
All right.
I can't think of anybody that did.
Rob, did PodTrack take a haircut when they did IAB certification?
Yeah.
Yes. A very big one.
Yes. Painful one.
Yes. One that made actually headlines.
Yeah.
So it's someone, they may have announced they took a haircut, or they may have tried to hide that they took a haircut. But everybody took a haircut to a certain extent.
Right. And some platforms have taken multiple haircuts over the years.
Right. So let me just kind of, and again, let's
say what a haircut is, Todd.
Huh?
Let's make sure everybody understands.
So a haircut,
what does that mean?
A haircut is when your numbers drop. In other words, when
your way of counting changes.
That's right. Because you've had to change your logarithm. A logarithm. So I'm on the wrong Twitter account. So I got to log off because I want to address what was his name? Let me see here. I got to get it up here.
Mike Cadden.
So Mike. Let me explain what I know you're worried about cost. And yes, the cost to become certified is expensive. We all know that. I don't like writing that check any more than you do, but we wrote the check understanding that it was the price of doing business and making sure our podcasters were able to accurately report download numbers to their media buyers to not have a audit invoked upon them, and we'll talk about that
Right.
in a minute.
Right. But it's also just about just having accurate numbers.
Yeah,
too.
accurate numbers. And
Right.
what was the most important thing? A level playing field.
Right. And 36 companies got together to come up with this.
That's right. So not all of them have become certified because not all of them are in the measurement business.
Right.
But some of them use some of our services
and wanted to have a standard.
And wanted a standard. So as an example, it's no secret ESPN uses our metric data.
Mhm.
They wanted us to be certified.
Right.
And the variety of other companies and podcasters, and you have big names on your platform, wanted you to be certified.
Right. Because that's good for business.
That's right.
It levels the playing field. It builds trust with ad buyers.
Yep.
It gets everybody on the same page, and that's what the industry needs if we want to grow the ad revenue business, and also just build credibility with the content creators.
So the audit, and I have commonly and repeatedly referred to it as an anal probe.
Yeah. And expensive.
Expensive, time-consuming,
right.
And they go in and they look at everything. It's like a forensic audit. It is a forensic audit. That's probably the more politically correct word to use.
Right.
It is a forensic audit of your entire systems, your accounting, your logging, your backup of data, all the validation processes. And the list is quite long.
Right.
Of what they check for. And invariably, they'll say, what about that?
Yeah.
And, code review? 40 hours of line-by-line code review.
Mm-hmm.
They look at the code. And they have a guy that knows how to read code.
Yeah.
That goes through your code and asks about the process and follows the flow through and follows the processing to make sure all these things that you say you do is proven that you're doing. And then they take your data.
Mm-hmm.
They take your raw log data and they run it against something they have.
Right.
Compare it to your sample set of the same data, and they does it match and say, does 1 + 1 = 2, or does 1 = 1?
Right.
And if it does, you get the check. If it doesn't, you don't get the check.
Right.
So why did we want to do this? And I'm just, many of you have been here, you understand this. But how long have we been undergoing this, Rob? 4 years? 5 years?
I first got on that group back in 2014.
Has it been that long? When was the meeting?
It's been 6 years.
When was the meeting in Vegas? That 15?
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Okay, so initially, I think we got 27 companies.
No, I think it was later than 15. I think it was probably 16, 17.
Actually. Okay, I can't remember.
Yeah.
But it was...
I think it was before the guidelines were issued.
Oh, yeah. It was 2 years before the guidelines.
Right.
Because we dealt with personalities in the committee. So we worked, oh my God, what was it, every 2 weeks? For 18 months? Going through line by line and proving that this methodology was right and this methodology is wrong, and this is why the measurement time was all these factors. And we had to prove it through science. We had to prove it through real data.
Right.
And thank God for Angelo, my CEO, and the guys over at PodTrack and Rob Walsh and all the people that sat through every one of those meetings and
hammered it out. Right,
Yet,
hammered it out.
Today, there's still people in space that talk smack about the IAB spec. They have little understanding of the whole history of why it got from point A to point B, and why it got to the version it's on, and there's a new version coming.
And why you and I defend it so strongly too,
right?
Because it's a fragile thing.
It is.
If it gets discredited, it can fall apart. Right.
And if you have and have happened. Companies say, "Oh, we're compliant. We looked at the data."
Right.
Well,
or I'm within some
percentage
of a certified. So they're always using a comparison
Right.
with a certified
that's right.
platform, right? Um,
So here's the end of this all, and what has happened. Companies have not become certified, and they are well known in the space by media buyers to be inflators of numbers. They're well known.
well, there's a whole list of those that are certified, and if you're not on the list, you're not certified,
Right.
So it's a pretty easy thing for a buyer to see.
For time to time, and it hasn't happened in maybe a year, but from time to time, my phone rings, and because we were first, along with NPR, and also I have a system where I can ingest anybody's log files and process them. We have to figure out. We have to look at the date. We have to map it, make sure that our engine can ingest it. But we get called from time to time, very uncomfortable calls, where a media buyer says, "Hey, I got a problem, and I need an audit, and I need an audit on this company and this show."
Right.
So they arrange a phone call between us. Well, the media buyer arranges a call with the company, and we're in the middle. And the media buyer tells the company, "Hey, we've hired Blueberry Podcasting to do an audit on your raw log data."
Right.
Now, Rob, how do you think those conversations go?
It puts you in a very difficult position.
It's bad. It's really bad. You don't make friends.
You're a competitor of the
right.
platform that you're
and we don't
the audit
and you
on,
don't make friends. You don't make friends. and
and the show doesn't like it either, right?
No, they don't, because because all of a sudden, why is there scrutiny upon my show?
Right.
And
there's a possibility that they did something wrong, and that their ad revenue is going to get cut too.
The only time that there hasn't, well, actually, there has never been a time. Well, there was one. There was one time one company said no. No,
that they won't share.
They refused.
Raw log data, right?
And the media buyer says to us, "What do we do?" I said, "That's your problem. You figure out how to work out the miscalculation." But can you imagine the company saying no?
Right.
No. What do you mean no?
Yeah.
And I know who that media buyer is, and that media buyer doesn't do business with that company anymore. So, so the one time someone said no, but the rest of the time, and I say this jokingly, but I want to just be straight up. You could write a big check. You could write a 6-figure check. Oh, you might have to write a 7-figure check back to the media buyer.
Yeah.
What if you spent that 7-figure? So I don't want to be a dick, and I'm not threatening anybody. I'm just saying this happens. And again, it hasn't happened for about a year, just about a year. Actually, no, June. Last one we had was June. Yeah, June of last year. We had one. So it is just over 13 months was the last audit we had to do.
Yeah.
So,
we're trying to bring the industry together, and we're trying to create a level playing field for all of the participants, build trust with ad buyers, right? Build trust with shows.
Yep.
That there is a good purpose to what is happening here. But there are, as we're bringing up here, there are examples of those that are trying to, kind of undermine what was created, maybe not intentionally to undermine, but to try and squeeze into the business without playing by the same rules that everybody else is playing by. And I think one of the arguments has been is that it's too expensive, right, to do this. Well, it's been too expensive for everybody to do this, right? It's not like, there's some sort of a special cost or discount or something like that that's gone to anybody that's an advantage. But I did find out today that you don't have to be an IAB member to actually get certified, is what I learned today. I don't know if you knew that, Todd.
I did know that, and I know how much more it costs.
Right. Yeah, there is an extra premium cost you have to pay if you're not an IAB member. Right.
And I don't think I'm at liberty to say what the price is. I don't think that's publicly published.
Right. No, and it doesn't really help the conversation to know what the dollar amount is, but
it's not insignificant.
No, it's not. But it's also a cost of doing business.
That's right.
For any platform getting into this that wants to be serious about it, because they're, the buyers are going to question that. I would think.
If we were doing MRC audits, let me just put some light onto the conversation.
Mm-hmm.
We looked at MRC certification, and they went and certified podcast data because it wasn't client-side data. We did it long before, because we thought that would be like a super competitive advantage, and it would have been if I could have got MRC certification for my podcast stats. That'd have been a huge coup. That was 100. They sent us the proposal. It was $150,000.
Yeah, and the definition of MRC is Media Ratings Council, and it's basically been an organization that's kind of ruled over, I believe, mainly television, but
and digital.
Some aspect in digital and maybe a little bit of radio, or is that just
streaming? Okay. Yeah,
right.
So that's what people pay that are in the streaming business for their certification. They get MRC certification. It's like $150. That's year one. Right. Year two, which you have to do every year, is an additional. It's like maybe half that much. But they wouldn't do it because same reason the IAB Tech Lab started to do certification process, because there was no outlet to do it through MRC because there was no client.
Right.
Because the IAB Tech Lab didn't want to get into certification business. Right. But there was no other way for companies to get certified, and again, to level the playing field, because it was historically wise, it was way all over the map. Anyways, again, if you listen to the show and you go back to the beginning, and you'll hear the whole history, because we've talked about, again, you're going to have to spend 100 hours listening to the show, maybe 200, but we'll give you everything you ever want to know about all of this. This is not the first time we've said this. People have been listening to the show before, so you can move on, Todd. You're killing me. But
well, it's coming up again.
So here's the simple fact. I know Tom Webster, we love him, doesn't like the download, says it's not serving the community well. But it is today the only viable measurement for billing for podcast advertising. Today. There is no client-side data to be resolved except for small percentages of data from Spotify, from Google Podcasts, and from Apple Podcasts.
That data tends to only live within proprietary platforms right now where there's a login.
And there's no certification of any of that. There's no validity of how that data is it's just some data points that you get to put in your marketing message for a particular show. There's nothing you can report in there. Matter of fact, if you're reporting any of that data, good luck making any money. Because in my opinion, it always feels like there's data missing. But that said, for the foreseeable future, at least the next couple of years, at a minimum, the download is the only measurement that you're going to bill with for. Now, if you want to added value by doing tweets and charge more for that, and you want to do some attribution studies and get a performance bonus for that, that's all great. But in the base end of the day, 1,000 downloads is going to bill at whatever that CPM rate you've set, or whatever flat rate you've negotiated for your show. And if you think otherwise, if you can sell it otherwise, call me, because I've got millions of downloads that are ready to be sold today.
Mm-hmm.
You can get me higher than $25 CPM. You can have my entire inventory, and sell it all on a consistently daily basis and bill it other than download, you can have the whole stack.
Yeah. Well, Todd, it might be helpful to run through what the arguments have been for those that aren't certified. Based, there's a couple layers to this conversation. I know we've talked about it a little bit before, but it's coming up again.
Mm-hmm.
Around the use of the term, compliance,
Mm-hmm.
one thing, and these platforms that are not certified, comparing themselves against platforms that are certified and saying that, we've followed the well-defined spec, and that we don't see large changes in our number
Mm-hmm.
when comparing between the two. And I think you have to look at that as kind of like code is like, well, we're close enough, right? But is that really building the kind of trust that we want with ad buyers, so that we're not seeing large changes in the numbers?
Well, ad buyers have
Right.
there's a little smoke and mirrors game going on.
Right.
And someone that's not compliant, when they talk to here's the trigger word: certified compliant. But most of the media buyers only heard the word compliant.
Right.
So if someone says, "Oh yeah, we're IAB compliant," we follow their spec.
Right.
The media buyer is being bamboozled into thinking that your system is certified.
Right. Because the word compliant is a pretty loosey-goose term to describe what this is.
And it's a little bit of a fault of the program itself, because it's an IAB certification to be compliant.
Right.
And the only way you can achieve compliancy is through the certification. So when you say you're compliant, you're really not compliant.
Right.
And because you haven't proved that you're compliant.
Right.
And I'm going in circles here.
And that's why it's confusing to people, right? And
That's right.
it's also easily manipulated too.
That's right.
Because of the confusion. And so what we would like to see happen is that the whole compliance be removed from this.
And we can't say much more than that.
Right. But that needed to be said, because being certified means that you are following the spec, right? Compliance implies that you're complying with it, but it feels like it has a lot of loose ends to it, right?
And if anyone's using a redirect system to validate their numbers, you throw that out.
Right.
I'll tell you straight up, you're 12 to 14, 12 to 17, 12 to 15% off.
Right. And if you don't know that, and you're making claims like that, that'll get you in trouble too.
So imagine a 12 to 15% delta when you're assuming you're correct because you've compared it to redirect systems, and you then get your raw log data processed by someone that is certified, and holy crap, you're off 20%.
Right.
How do you write that check?
Yeah.
Or you do go through certification, and all of a sudden, guess what? All your podcast audience is going to see a 20% drop.
Or more.
Right.
There could be other.
There's all kinds of factors depending on how and the thing is, there's no perfect number. And the reason I say there's a range, it's because it's how an audience's show is made up and how it's consumed, because different devices do different things on different redirects, and there's no common delta to be applied.
Right. I mean, that difference can be dramatic between shows.
Dramatic. Between this show and Geek News Central, dramatically different.
Right, because the consumption patterns
are different, and no show's the same. So there's no way to apply a filter to bring it into Alliance. You just have to throw out. You have to throw out legitimate downloads that would probably qualify if the raw log data was processed. You have to throw them out, because there's no way you can certify that download has actually occurred to meet the spec.
Right.
On a redirect.
Mhm. Yep. Yeah, because it's missing data.
It's missing data.
Right. Because that's what happens when a redirect happens. It sometimes can happen so fast that the server doesn't have enough time to.
No. It's not the server.
Yeah.
It's not.
Yeah. Well, it's the client.
There's nothing
right?
that you don't on some transactions. You don't get a hello.
Right.
I got
Right.
that. It's here and gone.
Right.
So
That's
we
part of
applied as many adjustments to our redirect as we could. But to be certified, you got to be a hosting customer.
Mm-hmm. No. So anyway, what does this mean going forward, Todd? I know we had this Twitter conversation with the CEO of Red Circle. But
I
what
hope
do we recommend to him? He pursue getting certified.
I feel for him. It's a hard check to write.
Right, and do it outside of the IAB membership if he's trying to save a little bit of money. But it's probably not going to save you a lot of money.
No, and it might be better to be part of the conversation moving forward if you were an IAB member.
Right.
I don't, and believe me, I don't like. Here's not okay. I don't like writing another check to IAB every year.
Right.
Because how the check I have to write to the IAB is based upon a flat fee plus how much ad revenue I did tiers me into what I have to pay the IAB.
That's right. The more successful you are, the more you have to pay.
The more you pay.
Right. And
so I don't like writing that check either.
But Todd, also, as today was an example, we did an IAB working group call today. This is not a static issue. This is a moving target. Right.
And how many
moving issue?
Can't say who was on the call, but what were there 30 on the call today?
Yeah, I think it was 29, 30.
Yeah. And some very big voices in the space said some very big things in the call today.
Right.
That a majority of the group agreed with.
Right.
When you can
hasn't always been the case. Todd.
No. It's and I'm telling you that the past was hard.
Right.
Can you try to get 30 companies to sign off on anything to say they agree? It's hard. It's hard. You fight over an I or an and or a but or a T. You fight over words. One word.
What we have up on the screen is a document that we're all editing. 30 people are editing a document.
And sometimes you spend 2 minutes defending a word. It's the truth.
Yeah.
And sometimes you lose.
Right.
And you have to say, am I willing to accept that change for the betterment of the whole? And for the betterment of the whole, the better the podcasting space, the better the moving the space forward. This is not, I understand I understand. I just now have accepted it, that it's the price of doing business. It's something I have to do for our podcasters. It's something we have to support. I'm walking this walk every day on this show.
It's something that we have to keep on top of. This is not a static decision
that
was made. The specification. There is technology changes that are in the works that are going to scramble pretty much everything, or a lot of what we've done.
There's some stuff coming,
right?
That, how do I say it, is truly problematic.
And it's not just problematic for podcasts. It's problematic
for everybody.
For everybody that doing any kind of
anything,
attribution or any kind of counting of anything in the digital space.
I'll just say this: IPv6. Holy crap!
Right.
That's all I'm going to.
Problems, but it also creates a lot of problems. The IPv6 standard specification was really to come up with extending the number of IP addresses, but it also
so imagine
is doing other things too.
Imagine your phone gets 20 new IPs a day.
Right.
An IPv6
Rotates through.
You just get a new IPv6 about every hour, 90 minutes. IP. Imagine that. And then think about podcast measurement. Cool. So yes, it'll have to be.
Todd, explain why that's important, because there may be people.
Well, we're running out of every device now has a, it's Internet of Things. Your refrigerator, your clock, your everything, your watch, everything needs an IP address, and we're almost out of IPv4 addresses. And IPv6 takes us from, like, I don't know what the multiplier is, but we'll never run out of IPv6. I think that's the
right.
Well, maybe in 1,000 years, I don't know, but it takes us a long ways, and it was designed that really every device could. What the thought was is you'd get an IPv6 and you'd keep it for the life of your device. Well, privacy folks have said we can't do that.
Right.
You can't assign an IPv6 to this phone. Maybe you can do it to a clock, but to a phone, no. That allows that phone to be tracked too closely from a privacy standpoint. So we'll give it a new IPv6 about every 90 minutes. So it'll really screw them up, and they can't figure out who is who.
Right.
And we're taking
randomizes things,
and we're taking cookies away too, so you can't cookie track people no more.
Right. You just kind of layer those on top of each other, and you can see what.
We're not at that point. There. Podcasting is 95%, 98% still in IPv4 space, with CDNs and stuff having not gone to IPv6. So, but in a couple of years, so what are we doing? We're starting to try to figure this out now.
Well, and then there's also the element of the 5G complications too, which are going to be interesting in that world as well, right?
So time will tell where we go with this.
Mm-hmm.
And Rick said that's what they said about IPv4 15 years ago, right? We would never run out of IPs, right, Rick? I wish they would have just added another octal early on.
Right.
Or a couple more octals, and we'd have been good under the current infrastructure if we'd have just had like 2 more octals worth of stuff. But no, we'll never run out of IP addresses.
Right.
But so what are we going to do there? Then, the measurement has to evolve, but client-side data is not here. Are you going to get paid on your engagement of your audience? I know shows that have incredible advertising engagement, don't get a single tweet, doesn't get a single email, has 50 people on their Twitter account, yet they got 500,000 people listening to their show. That's an exaggeration, but there's all kinds of cases out there. So we can tell this person, if you don't have 1,000 Instagram followers or 500 people on TikTok and 82,000 on YouTube, you're not getting any money. That's not a measurement standard. That's someone making some stupid rule, like YouTube has done.
Right.
YouTube has made stupid rules. They say, "Oh, you don't get so many listener hours. You're not making jack." Do we want podcasters to be forced into that? No. But that's what we head to as soon as we start using a social metric.
Right.
Be careful what you wish for.
Client-side metrics is, and this whole conversation around listen too is a whole other thing.
We won't get into that because that's.
Yeah.
So all I'm saying is all these, Tom, I know you don't like the download.
Well, let's be frank about it. The download is not optimal.
No, we know that.
Yeah, right. And
you're not telling us anything.
Don't, acknowledge the fact it's not like I'm an evangelist of of downloads.
No,
don't get that impression at all. No. It's more to do as well. What's our alternative?
What's available?
Right. What can we use?
And if someone's got some valid ideas on what we can use that's tangible, I'm all ears. But everyone talks in whispers.
Well, let's be honest about it here, Todd. That data is really only available to proprietary networks.
That's right.
And the
Spotify,
fact that this
Apple,
is not
right?
Podcasting is not globally not a proprietary.
That's right. Mm-hmm.
That's why we don't have client side data.
Spotify has all this clients.
Too distributed.
Yeah.
Right.
And it's no more privacy. So I had a call. Be careful here. I had a call, and the company asked me, we want to do retargeting.
Mm-hmm.
I'm like, well, sorry, not possible. Well, why not? Blueberry's adopted GDPR globally,
right.
Not just for the EU.
Not just for California. Right.
Right. And how can we get around that? Not with me.
Right.
And I said, the window of opportunity of doing retargeting is closing
fast.
And the simple fact that cookies, the ability to use cookies for retargeting is going away, and a whole bunch of other things that are happening. Yes, there's a short window here, but do I sell out my audience to allow them to be retargeted for 1 or 2 years or whatever's left?
Right.
Attribution, I don't have a problem with as long as the data is controlled. If you use this attribution service and they're looking to say, yeah, this listener landed on my website and this listener landed on or this download person landed on my website, I have no problem with that. But here's the problem even with attribution. Rob, do you listen on your phone?
Mm-hmm.
Do you listen on your computer?
Yep.
No. Do you listen to podcasts on your computer?
Yeah.
All right. You're unusual. Most people don't listen to podcasts on their computer.
Well, I think, more people listen to podcasts on their computers now that there's so many people working from home.
But the percentage is still 10, 11%.
Right.
Okay.
Right.
But 90% of the people are on their phone. Now, maybe I'm the old guy.
Mm-hmm.
You hear about a product, right?
Yeah.
Let's say it's Stamps.com. Do you go to Stamps.com on your phone or do you go to Stamps.com on your computer to check out that deal?
I don't know. It can happen both places.
Sure. But what do you think the most people are going to do if they're going to go look? Let's say it's
they're going to pull it up on their Mac or
maybe, right?
Or their tablet.
So let's say 50% of the people that download it on the phone then go to Stamps.com on their phone.
Yeah.
So you got attribution there, right? There's good attribution. Now the guy has listened on his phone and he goes to there on his computer, which is a completely different website, different IP.
Right.
There's no more attribution. It still happens. It breaks. So attribution is just a small picture, gives you a small amount of data that says the advertising campaign was effective, and you still miss this gap of people because they could have looked at Stamps.com on their work computer. And I don't know if Stamps.com does attribution. I'm just using them as an example.
Right.
So it still only gives you a little bit of info, of backup. Retargeting, though, is a whole different level. It's where you say, here's Stamps.com. Here's the 500,000 IPs that were
used for other purposes.
Now, when you want to go buy advertising, you go buy advertising over on Amazon, Facebook, wherever, and you use a player that does this retargeting. When you go over to Amazon.com, you get a Stamps.com message or ad. It's put in your face again because you've been retargeted.
Yeah.
So
that's exactly what the Amazon platform does. I don't know how many of us,
but we agreed to that.
Look for a product on Amazon, and then they're browsing the web, going to some website, and they see that same product show up.
But we opted in for that, and none of our podcast listeners opted in. We talked about this, so there's this full circle of stuff. So when someone calls me and says, "I want to do a retargeting campaign," when I do a campaign with you, I'm like, Can't do it. I don't. First of all, I'm not giving you the IP data.
Right.
If I was to ever do that, you're going to have to ask the podcaster. I don't even know how it would work that. Podcaster has to get permission. We have to do a data sharing agreement. Do you understand the legal paperwork to do that? And then make sure we exclude Europe, make sure we exclude California.
Right.
Forget it.
And technically the listener has to opt into that too. Right.
Well, not in the United States, they don't.
Yeah. Well, that's true.
Right.
Yeah. but it's coming. I don't think this is a.
Have we lost you all?
I know we're bored to death.
Have we lost
There's
them?
just not enough dirt in the show today. But
it's not dirt. It's I'm just.
No, I know it's not.
So
no, this is very serious stuff. I mean, this is going on in the background of this industry, and it needs to be talked about. And I don't think there's many podcasts talking about it.
So Mike says it's a tough sell to spend a ton of money to tell me what I already know. I don't think you really know.
Yeah. I don't know how you could.
Because I go back to my original point at the beginning of the show. Every company that has went through certification has had to take a haircut, has had to reduce the number. And we're just about ready on October 1st. Sorry, everyone that's listening. If you're hosting with Libsyn, I think you've already took this hit long ago. But everyone else.
There's another one coming.
This one.
Yep.
The numbers, all your numbers from this is bogus.
Yeah. Libsyn cut that data out 2 years ago. Yeah.
So we've had some stuff going on where a percentage of it was able to be reported, but it's
right.
You're going to take a hit.
It's going to be fairly small, but
we'll see. Some shows more than others.
What do you think that average number is going to be?
If you have a high number of Apple Podcast subscribers,
it's growing probably, right?
If you have a high number of Apple Podcast subscribers, they're also Apple Watch users. You're going to see a number.
They're listening on these.
Well, no, they're listening. They're not even listening on this, but the podcast app is loaded. Yes.
Yeah, right. I mean, it gets synchronized.
Right. Yeah, they're listening on AirPods too. That means they're Apple. Apple everything.
Right. Yeah.
We'll be talking about it. There'll be blog posts about it. There's going to be people squealing about it.
Mm-hmm. But
some folks are going to, if you've got advertisers, you're probably going to take a 5% hit immediately. At least 5%.
Yep.
It's been coming for a while.
Yep. It has.
So how do you explain that to the media buyers, Rob?
Yeah. It's what it is. And those that took the reduction in their numbers early aren't going to face it now.
So Tom says we're doing scores of brand lift studies every year. They have nothing to do with any of that. There's more than one way to get at the effectiveness of podcast advertising without touching people's data or infringing their privacy. That's good. There's a core principle behind all of our work. No PID, no cookies, no pixels. I do not doubt, Tom, that is effective stuff. Right. Those lift studies, but the average podcaster cannot afford a lift study on a campaign to find out how effective enough it is and how much his content, how much he should be charging for advertising on the show. He still has to have a base number.
Mm-hmm.
I think those lift studies are fantastic. Mine would be a case study that would be unreal for the lift study I've had for GoDaddy for 15 years.
Yeah.
Matter of fact, how do you even measure that? I know how many customers I brought to GoDaddy over 15 years. I should be a stockholder.
Well, you've had a methodology with that.
All right, I have had a methodology with that.
And yeah, it's ingrained into thousands of people's brains to use your promo codes.
Oh, yes, in more ways than one.
Yes.
So let me just do a little math. So I probably over the life of I'm just doing some real quick rough numbers.
Mm-hmm.
Probably around 150,000 total new customers to GoDaddy.
Mm-hmm.
Make sure that number's right. Let me do that again. Yeah, probably around 150,000 total new customers. So, how many customers does GoDaddy have? I don't know, but if I brought that much business to them,
Mm-hmm.
that's new business. That's not repeat business.
Todd, have you noticed that the news in the podcasting space has been a little bit light lately, but it's also very, very content centric lately.
Yeah.
Again, I think we're going back into that phase again.
Yep.
Of course, it is late summer. A lot of people take time off. So things tend to slow down a little bit, but it's interesting. There's a lot of talk of, activity around Spotify. I guess Deezer launched the analytics app, which I think we're going to see more of that here from platforms.
Yep.
Also, that's a project that we're working on at Libsyn as well. So,
but the challenge is most, we got a large contingent of podcasters on Deezer, and that's going to be a limited data set.
Yeah, it is. Oh, yeah, definitely. Outside of the U.S.
Yeah, still a limited data set. Tom has to eat. You can eat in front of your computer, Tom. Don't worry. Do like the rest of us. To get our keyboards dirty.
Right.
It's late in the day. Is this just lunch?
He must have been busy.
Clinton, welcome to the show, longtime podcaster. Nuts and bolts are interesting to hear about. Yeah, and sometimes, it's sad, Clinton, because we have to, we kind of have to be sometimes a little mean.
It's just laying the facts out the way they are.
Yeah.
It can come across as a little harsh because people don't always want to hear it.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
But that's part of facing the challenges that the industry has, face forward and taking it as it comes.
Mike, we want you to be successful. We want you to put money in podcasters' pockets. That's important. We believe in, make podcasters making money. So,
right. Yeah.
And if I think back too, let me think back to where I could not have afforded. Oh.
Yeah.
Actually, even in 2005, based on the money we were making from advertising, that would not have been a stretch for us to have done a certification in 2005. Would there have been a year that it would have been a stretch?
Right.
No, I don't think so. Because, for most, I don't know what their rev share is, but if you do $1 million in advertising, $1 million. If I do $1 million in advertising, my minimum profit on that is as Blueberry is $300,000.
Mm-hmm.
So I think let's back that down to 500,000. My profit's still 150,000 with a 30% take. Go down to $100,000 in revenue on advertising revenue. My profit's still $30,000. So And again, you got to pay some salaries and stuff like that. I understand. But if you're doing $1 million and you're making $300,000 a quarter or whatever it may be, you can afford to be IAB certified.
Mm-hmm.
And there's no reason why someone that's dedicated doing advertising and podcasting today can't be doing $1 million a quarter.
Mm-hmm. Well, it may be hard to reach those numbers, though, Todd, if you're not certified. That's the catch-22 on it, right?
Yeah, I don't know if Red Circle got VC funding and if they're doing it out of their back pocket. Yeah, we did everything out of our back pocket. I never had venture.
Mm-hmm.
So,
Todd, one thing that we didn't talk about that came out on, was it on Monday, but was the Anchor story that 30% of all the top 20 podcasts on Podtrac are currently copied on Anchor.
what do you mean? Well, okay, I heard that. Does that mean, they were copied?
The RSS feeds were taken and imported into Anchor.
Okay, so
and duplicated, and then Anchor automatically shared those out to the listening platforms. So there was duplication that happened.
So there was 2 listings in Apple Podcasts, 2 listings.
Yeah, I mean, it's an issue that I had to deal with when I was at Spreaker too, because I mean, and I think we talked about it on Saturday show to some degree, when you make it easy to move, import an RSS feed into your account, it creates the opportunity, and free, right? Anybody can grab an RSS feed, drop it into Anchor, and duplicate, let's say, Serial, or they can duplicate,
So why hasn't
podcasts from Wondery or something?
So why hasn't those companies sent out cease and desist letters to Anchor?
Maybe they didn't know it happened. That can happen as well.
Okay, I love my brand.
Right.
And
that's pretty significant. 30% of all the Podtrac top 20 podcasts are currently copied Anchor. Just think about that.
That's a problem. Now think about the lost revenue.
Well,
or someone else collecting revenue on content that they didn't create.
Especially if they're running dynamic ads on Anchor around it, right? Anchor makes it so easy to do this stuff that this sometimes can be the fallout from it, right?
What's interesting? Have we heard anything of anybody at Anchor that works there? And lately, I haven't heard. Since they got acquired, I don't think I've heard anything from their leadership.
Yeah, they're not involved in the podcasting space. I mean, it's Spotify. That's who you have to point at. But what's interesting about this is that it is Spotify, right? Is Spotify wanting to have duplications into their platform?
Or better yet, do you go on to Spotify and is it the right listing associated with the right show?
Right.
Or right
what
source?
Does Spotify think about all this that's going on? Are they doing anything about it?
James, are you asking them?
Right. It just raises a lot of questions, right? About
how come their duplicator didn't catch that? That other show got removed because it was duplicate content. How did the duplicator not find those shows and take them down?
Right.
They took that other show down for having 2 minutes of an intro, and yet you duplicated the whole content. And that's the question I have.
Yeah, because these pirated shows, and that's what's being referred to here, are instantly appearing in Apple Podcasts and Spotify. So they're
Apple,
being duplicated, and Spotify is letting them in.
Hey, Apple, you're listening.
Yeah.
So I'm hope the Apple folks will take a look at this. Wink, wink, wink.
Well, I'm sure.
Well, no, they need to. If they haven't heard of, I can't imagine they haven't heard about this.
Right. Well, I mean, it's a top story in Pod News.
But when is this gonna? What is it going to take to trigger the ability of them to stop doing this automated submission?
Right. Yep.
I would be pissed if all of a sudden I did a search for my show and I found a Google. See, actually,
This has been going on for a long time.
so
This is nothing new. It's just
no, but you know what it was referred to before, right? Hijacking.
Right. Yeah. You're replicating it's especially done in platforms that have programmatic advertising, right? That anybody can make money from. I mean, if you think about it, go and grab the entire RSS feed of Serial, import it into your account, and then locate dynamic ad insertion locations, and you're making money off of Serial. That's what's happening. And you know, it's what it is, right, Todd?
It's hijacking.
It is.
Yeah. You know, we talk about hijacking RSS feeds and really what's happened there is it's done on purpose now. It used to be the fault of an aggregator. Maybe they exposed RSS feeds that were getting picked up, or, we've had a couple instances before where they just didn't know. They could have hired the Rob and Todd podcast consulting firm, paid us $500,000 and saved themselves $500,000 worth of bad PR.
Right.
Because what did they do? They basically had every show in their directory have an RSS feed from that application. They got picked up by God and everybody.
Right.
That was a mistake that they made. They were stupid. They didn't know that this was going to cause a problem. This, on the other hand,
right,
is something more blatant.
Well,
and it's not the fault. It's not the fault of Anchor. It's people taking advantage, and it's the fault of Anchor for not taking them down. But it's the fault of it's someone taking advantage. Sounds like to make some money.
Right.
At least that's also, in my opinion.
Over time, it could erode the confidence that publishers have of making their RSS feeds available.
Because what happens when you have, all right, let's take my show. I run GoDaddy in my New Central show. They've been there for years. Someone submits my show over to Anchor, and they start running amongst my content. They start running Bluehost ads.
Mm-hmm. Right.
My buyer would do a backflip, knock themselves out, and then call me. Right. And that would be the most uncomfortable conversation I would probably ever have with them.
Yep. But you didn't do anything.
But it's my fault.
Right. Right.
Because you weren't policing your own show.
And keeping an eye on all the catalogs. Right. Because that's kind of what this is. I mean, if you're a big show, Serial, you should be checking these big platforms to see that everything's cool with your show on these platforms.
Make sure it's copacetic.
If you start seeing duplication go up.
But you can't tell on Spotify. There's no way to tell that they've got the right. Well, you can do the search. You can't tell if they've got the right show, pulling from the right feed. How can you tell on Spotify?
Right. Because it is going to be a duplicated. It's going to be a different feed, right, from a different host.
So let's do new media show. Let's do it. New media show, and we're going to put in Spotify. See if this works. Okay, so let's go over to the new media show on Spotify. And probably the listing won't be up to date. Oh, it is. Miracles do happen. So here we have it. Now let's look here. Let me follow, copy show link, open a desktop app, follow. Is there a link to my website? Nope.
Nope.
Is there a link to my RSS feed? Nope. How can I tell that they're getting the New Media Show from the newmediashow.com website? I cannot.
Yeah.
So let me show you something real interesting here. Let me show you how the adults do it. All right, let's go over here and let me do a little search for new media show. All right, so here's this amazing podcast. And okay, so here's the New Media Show on the Blueberry directory. So what do I have right here? In the little right hand side, it says visit podcast website. Oh, I click on that. And RSS feed. Let me click on that. And then we'll give it just a second here. Yeah, here we go. And voila! Where does it lead? And what's the RSS feed? Oh, newmediashow.com/feeds/audio. I go back to Spotify. How are they sourcing my show? This, ladies and gentlemen, is why for the past 15 beeping years, I've been down on directories, and I don't have to show that on our website, Rob.
Right.
But we do it because we want to make sure the podcaster knows where their content's being sourced. This is nothing new.
Right.
But yet now, as you said, it's been talked about in this article, people could take, this could be from Spotify. And we'd never know.
Or it could be on Anchor.
I mean Anchor, that's what I'm saying. It could have been on Anchor and submitted over there.
There's no way for you to tell.
No way to tell. The only way for me to tell is to click play and go look at raw log data, which who has? Just me, and see if that play actually came. If it was fed from. This is a problem. It's a bigger problem than what. And we've kind of overlooked this. James did a good job bringing this to light.
Right. Good.
So let's do another one here.
And I've got another issue here that we should talk about too, that came up in the last couple of days too. But
all right, so
let's go ahead and finish this topic.
Let's go look at
kind of related a little bit.
Let's see here. Let me go over to. Let us look at this on Google Podcast. What do they have here? Visit website. Newmediashow.com. I really can't tell which feed they're subscribed to. They're away. No. There's no way to tell which feed they've got.
Right.
But at least I can visit the website. Now, Apple, on the other hand, this maybe you guys are going to be guilty too. This is why I've always. Okay, so we're on. I'm waiting for it to load on the. All right, so here we are on. This is, of course, not. This is just the search result. Can I tell anymore where the show comes from? Nope. What is this button? Where does that go? What does that lead to? Link copied. What does that link? Nope. It just goes to the directory listing. So there's really no way, even on Apple Podcasts now, to tell whether or not this has been sourced from newmediashow.com.
Well, if you click on the link there to
listen on Apple Podcasts.
Yeah, to listen on Apple Podcasts, is there more links?
No, it's gonna try to app, and it went. That's
right.
So, Apple. This is why we've always, because I guess you can now go into your. Well, there is an alternative. I'll give them credit where credit's due. You can log in you can search and see if there's more than one new media show listing. Number one, see if you can find
Right.
two. And the second thing is you can go into your dashboard on Apple and make sure no hokey business has been done. But
Yeah.
So Rob, what other turd do you want to drop here on the show?
Well, there is an instance with Serial, not to keep coming up with that show in the theme here, but I don't know, those that track PodTrack top 20 podcast lists for July show that Serial bounced very high in the top 20.
Yeah.
In July, but it's not like Serial put out any new episodes, new content. What they put out was a promo for Nice White Parents, which is a cross promotion podcast into the Serial feed to try and siphon audience that follow Serial, waiting for a new episode or a new season to publish.
Yep, smart cross promotion.
Right, and it popped Serial, the podcast, up into the top 20 of podcasts in July.
Oh, wonderful!
There was no new Serial episode; it was just a cross promo.
Nice trick. I'd have done the same thing. If I owned the Serial feed, I'd have put a promo in there too.
Right.
Got me in the top two.
That PodTrack did exclude that, though, is a little bit of an issue.
I can't speak to PodTrack and what they do. Again, they don't measure everybody.
Right.
But you would have thought. So one episode, this, Rob, one episode, cause their listing had checked. We laugh about people, but Mark and you guys, what goes around comes around. It'll be your turn soon, because something's going to happen to us too.
Right.
And I'll be the one cussing.
Right. Yeah. So anyway, that happened.
Oh, that is funny. It is kind of funny. But hey, guess what? What it really proved there, and what's going to happen now is all these people are sitting around with shows that had big audience and producing episodes are going to go like, hey, what we should do.
Right. Yeah.
But I wonder what the Serial audience that still are subscribed to that feed thought of that promo.
It's an interesting question too to think about, and this is kind of like another layer to this, is that putting that promo in there probably sparked all those subscribers to go check out the feed.
But the problem,
did they download more episodes of Serial because of that,
or did it just automated download and people didn't even know?
Yeah, that's true. That's true.
So which tells me there probably should be a timeout setting in these podcatchers. If someone hasn't produced an episode in 6 months, something showing up in the feed should not trigger that thing to download an episode unless you tell it to go ahead and continue.
Right. Well, Apple does have that timer.
They do, but it's based upon if the person listened to the last episode, I think the system will still download it, won't it?
Yeah. Oh.
Yeah, that's a good test, Daniel.
I think it's definitely a test for how that system works.
Yeah.
Because right now it seems like it's a vulnerability in the. I mean, it's an opportunity for Serial to cross promote.
Drop one in there every month, and you stay in the top 10 list.
and you might actually get some more downloads of the past season of Serial.
Yeah, we just made someone $100,000 and put a little ad in there too.
Right.
New York Times, isn't that who owns it now?
Yeah, right.
Someone tell the New York Times to listen to this, and please send us a 10% referral fee or what is it, consulting fee.
So Todd, I think we just shared like a promotional
hack
tip here, didn't we?
Yeah. But we're laughing about this, but probably only Serial and a handful of shows are capable of doing that.
Yeah. I mean,
it's not.
It's not that it's an issue for the show doing
No.
this. I think it's a smart move for the show.
Yeah.
What's a little perplexing about it is the top 20 ranking in Podtrac because of it, right? Yeah.
So it sounds like a little bit of automation going on there, not much look at the data before we put the information out.
Yeah. It's not surprising, though. Not surprising.
No.
Right.
Or, hey, you really want to get good there, New York Times? Here's one. Here's a podcaster trick for you. Go in and edit the RSS feed and change the GUID just by an octal. And save it.
And trigger a bunch of new downloads, right?
Now,
is that what you're saying?
Now, throw some coals on the fire because your CDN's going to need it. Because you'll be able to get every one of those people that have subscribed to your show ever to re-download everything.
Right. There you go.
And make sure you have someone manning the email that from the listeners that are going to be complaining about it. See, people, here's, man, we're being bad. Listen,
I know we are
listen, podcasters.
We shouldn't even be sharing this.
Podcasters, do not manually edit the GUID of your episode.
Right.
Do not do that.
Yeah.
Because when you do, it basically looks like a new episode. It'll trigger.
Yeah.
Mike is watching the show right now, and he is like, no! He's screaming. He's screaming at the screen. Like, don't tell him. And that's why migration is so important to consult with your new hosting company when you're migrating to make sure that you move correctly so those GUIDs move with you. That is possible so that you don't have this big trigger of 300 episodes being re-downloaded that's in your RSS feed.
Right.
And making your listener mad because they have to go in and delete. I'm just waiting for the comment to come in the chat room here.
Yeah.
So we got a lot of people watching on YouTube today too. So, we're so naughty, man. It's I think I'm finding that and it's just been progressively everyone's getting more grumpy.
As time goes on,
everyone's getting more grumpy. Yeah. Even myself. I felt myself like Monday. Oh my God, I had the worst Monday ever. It was one of those days where just leave me alone. Let me have my space.
Right.
But it's going on with podcasters too. And the support team has been saying, people are on. I don't know if it's a full moon or whatever, but I think everyone is tensioned up. So just remember, ladies and gentlemen, when you call your favorite podcast support team, breathe before the call or breathe before writing the email.
Right.
So I don't know. I don't know if you guys are seeing that, but it kind of runs in waves. And I do think it has something to do with the full moon. I really do. Police officers know that during a full moon they get more calls, and but we're in our first. We're in the middle of our first sprint doing Scrum Agile, so that's being interesting.
Mm-hmm.
And we're offsetting one of the teams, so I get to attend my first Agile Scrum planning meeting tomorrow. So that should be fun. I don't know if you've ever been involved with that process at all, Rob, but
yeah, I have been a little bit. Yeah.
So my team is doing so far so good. I haven't heard no one's quit. But
so have you heard any more talk about the podcast movement since the last episode that we had
No.
with Dan Franks on?
No, I think
Yeah.
we had some stuff. We get some email from recently. We've been following on Twitter a little bit. Let me go look at. There was something was said to us in Twitter. Something was specifically about Dan, but so Drink with Rick. You know who that is?
Yeah. Mhm.
So you guys go get the podcast Drink with Rick. I think you guys will enjoy it. Rick, is it a podcast or is it just a Facebook thing? I think it's the actual podcast now. So
Yeah.
Drink with Rick on Twitter says Inside Trader Joe's is just one example of a branded podcast done right. At Wendy's, should have researched how to make a branded podcast before they tried it. This is literally a 2-minute ad within an ad. So has anybody listened to the official's Wendy's podcast? They announced it on August 12th. We have our own podcast. Click the link and check out our first episode. 44,444 of you are definitely not going to want to miss out on this. So they got a smart URL. Let me go ahead and let me click this smart URL and go over to the page. And I think okay, let me bring this up. Here is their podcast landing page.
Mm-hmm.
So, I bet you they're hosted by Radio Public. What do you bet?
Yeah, could be.
Powered by Smart URL. And I don't want to necessarily click listen here, but yep, that's is that really their Facebook, their podcast page? God, someone please. We're in the wrong business, Rob.
Yeah. Better websites, right?
Is that a website or just a promo page?
Just a landing
Yeah,
page.
just a landing page. What else? This is a little bit old news. Yeah, I won't say anything about. Oh, did you hear about this review we got? We got an awesome review
Oh yeah, I think I did see one
from Garrett Godfrey. Garrett,
Yeah.
thank you for being a fan. And anyone else who wants to do it, you're more than welcome to. He says, Todd and Rob bring years of podcasting experience to the show, bringing plenty of facts, but also opinions and speculation. You really feel like you're at the table as they discuss what's going on right now in podcasting and what may be coming. So this is a great review. We definitely appreciate that review. It was done over on Podchaser.
Mm-hmm.
So any of you that are familiar with Podchaser, you can. How come you're not showing up on the screen yet? My little thing's running a little behind. There we go. There's the review, and then the Podchaser listing lays underneath it. So this isn't the first review we've got, but we've had one in May as well. Well, Andy Wang said, longtime listener of the show, so it was an honor to be invited. So that one's a little tainted because he was a guest, but Eileen and Brian Goodwin have all done reviews. So we're not review beggars, but if you guys want to give us a review anywhere, that's great. We definitely appreciate it. It's something we don't do, Rob.
We don't beg for reviews.
Yeah, we've never. I don't think we've ever asked for an Apple Podcast review. I don't even know if we have any, to be honest with you.
Yeah, we do.
What are they, all 1 stars?
I think a lot of them are fairly old though.
Yeah.
But that's some. I think one of them there comments about how we're a couple of old school podcasters, curmudgeons.
Well, we are.
Yes.
We are curmudgeons.
Old school, exactly.
But as I've always said with this show, is we are old dogs, but we are being constantly taught new tricks, but we have the advantage of being able to pull into our. I don't know if it's fertile archive, the cobwebs. The cobwebs.
I like that word, fertile.
Fertile archive, yeah. Depends depends what kind of fertile it is.
Right. I don't think we want to expand beyond that.
No,
So,
if you guys didn't get the pun, I'm sorry. So, but last show we called it "Getting Deep" on content decisions, and I got a lot of feedback on my personal show because I talked about that issue on my personal show, and it was interesting. Some of the responses, some of them were asked, "Please don't read on the air," because they were afraid they were going to some social media justice warrior would come after them. So I didn't read it on the show, and a couple I couldn't read on the show because they would have really pissed people off. So it's interesting in the responses you get. So I am kind of curious from the audience. We don't get much feedback on this podcast, but between Dan Franks being on and talking about podcast movement and our last podcast talking about these content decisions we have to make once in a while, we really would love to hear your commentary on that.
I mean, your own experience with those issues.
Yeah.
That's the thing,
And,
I mean, and then if you know of a great guest that we should try and get on the show. I think I mentioned that I was going to get on Rob Walsh at some point here.
Yeah.
So we can talk about some issues in the space that he's concerned about. I think it would be good to have his views on here as well.
But I do ask you, if you do email us, please keep them non-political, just because oftentimes these comments to me that I got from my talking about it on my show turn political. I just can't read them.
Mm-hmm.
Nastily political.
I think we all face political stuff all the time, and
it
doesn't have to come into this podcast.
No, it does not. So
yeah. So anyway, well, Todd, I think we're at the bottom of the hour.
Yeah, we have run, and if nothing else, we've run out of things to say. So I
could come up with stuff, but I'm just
So more coffee solves everything. I've actually, since COVID, Clinton, I've started drinking coffee, but as a Navy guy, I never drank coffee. I was the guy with a Mountain Dew or a Red Bull, and probably to the detriment of my health. But all those Navy chiefs, and I was a Navy chief for a number of years, and walking around, they had their coffee cups, and I just never really was a black coffee drinker. So I do drink coffee, but I put a little milk and cream in there, so I cheat. Can't handle the bitterness of coffee.
Right.
So some people love it black, but yes, more coffee solves everything. So, and Mike says it's a new moon today, so that might be part of the reason people are a little grumpy.
Right.
So yes, we'll be back here on Saturday. Saturday 12 Eastern.
Yeah, I'll try and get a guest for Saturday.
Oh, that'd be cool. See if you can drag. I don't think Rob's got softball or anything going on, so he can't give us the excuse that he's doing sports. So, but yeah, if we can get something Saturday, that'd be awesome. But I'm Todd at bluebear.com, at Geek News on Twitter.
RobGreenlee.com. You can find out some information about me there. I'm also on Twitter at Rob Greenlee as well. And you can send me an email if you want, robg@libsyn.com. Love to hear from you. So, yeah.
And Mike, if you... Go ahead.
I was just going to ask you, is there anybody else that you would like me to try and pull into the show?
Well,
anybody that comes to mind?
Mike, if you listened all the way to the end, if you want to come on the show, let us know. We'd have to have...
Oh, yeah, Mike from
Red Circle.
Right.
So happy to have you on the podcast. And again, we treat everybody with respect that comes on, and we can have differing opinions. It's all good here. But hey, thanks everybody for being part of the podcast today. Thanks for being on. We definitely appreciate you being part of our family. And we'll see you back here on Saturday.
Yep. All right.
See you later.
Thank you.
Yep.
Thank you.
Yep. Take care. Bye-bye.
Bye.